Chapter 15. She felt lighter after her time with Harper and Bailey and was excited to get back to the farm to play, that is, to do farm chores with the animals. While tedious and very messy, Imogen couldn't help but smile when the goats would use her for butting practice to get her attention for scratches, or the llamas would watch over her shoulder, a warm presence. The chickens she was less fond of, especially the rooster, Clancy, who was determined to scratch her eyes out, she was certain. Still, she enjoyed the tasks as a chance to let her busy brain rest. Imogen drove with the windows down, her dark auburn hair whipping every which way while she sung along to her playlist. It was a good day. Plus, she had just enough time to stop into Gabe's and give him a thank you pie she'd picked up at Harper's. Gabe heard the low rumble of her car before he saw the dust kick up in the driveway. By the time she pulled to a stop, he was leaning on his muck rake in the paddock, trying to wipe most of the sweat off his face. He could only hope he got most of it as he slid the bandana into its place in his back pocket. Damn, she was like a mini tornado, he mused as she grabbed a white box from the passenger seat and slammed the door shut with a check of her curvy hip. He admired the purposeful way she walked straight at him, her short frame eating up the ground with those old-school Doc Martens. "Hey, Gabe," she called as she approached the fencing. "I brought you a thank you pie." Her grin was huge, and she looked so proud of herself. It was adorable. He couldn't help but grin back. "And what, may I ask, is a thank you pie?" She snorted, amused with herself. "Duh, it's clear. I thought you were smart. You went to veterinary school, right? I'm assuming you can guess." Cheeky girl. He rolled his eyes and shifted his stance closer to the fence as a few of his horses approached to investigate the visitor, sniffing and reaching with their lips through the slots. Gabe leaned the muck rake against the fence post and leaned over the rail while she giggled and squealed as they tried to grab her pie. "No, I'm familiar with pie. I'm just not sure what you were thanking me for. Didn't you already take me out to dinner?" Wait, was that a blush? Her fair skin got a little rosy. Imogen wrinkled her nose, dodging a questing nibble from Rowdy. "Well, as much as I don't like needing your help, I really appreciate you looking out for me when I arrived. You've been a good friend and neighbor to Aunt Jo. Besides," she added hurriedly, "Harper says this is your favorite, and it's just baked this morning." It was interesting that when she said that, she wouldn't, or couldn't, look at him directly. Instead, she focused on the horses. If he didn't know better that she was hard to rattle, he'd think she was a little uncomfortable. Well, I hope to be your friend too, Imogen." That brought her attention back to him, and, quick as a whip, he grabbed the pie box from her and opened it up. "Strawberry rhubarb. I love that Harper knows me so well." Dodging the eager mouths of his animals, he cut through the gateway and grabbed Imogen by the hand, leading her to the mudroom so he could chuck off his boots. He motioned a bemused Imogen to do the same, then went immediately to the kitchen to wash his hands and grab 2 plates, calling out as he did, "Have you tried her pies yet? You have never had anything so good." She walked into the kitchen and leaned against the doorframe, amused by his childlike excitement. When she told Harper she wanted to bring him a thank you gift, she had no idea he'd be this excited by the offering, or that he intended to share it. Although it hadn't been her intention to share it with him, she was never one to turn down dessert. She didn't tell him she had one for Aunt Jo in the car. He was too excited. "Come on, sit down. You're going to love this." Gabe pulled out a beautifully carved wooden chair and indicated she should sit, so she did. He presented her with a generous helping and then sat down next to her, his knee brushing hers under the table, and then remained there until she created a little more space. He was handsome and sweet, sure, but she didn't mess with another woman's man, even if the woman was as obnoxious as Bianca. Not that he was interested or anything, she told herself. He was a friendly guy. She just didn't want him to think she was flirting with him. It was hard to navigate friendly versus flirting. Over the years, her outgoing personality had resulted in men calling her a tease after she showed zero interest in sleeping with them. To her, she was clearly just being nice, bringing Gabe the pie, and didn't want him to get the wrong idea. She wanted to be his friend. She took a bite and closed her eyes, chewing slowly. Yep, still as good as when she tried it earlier at the store. When she opened her eyes, Gabe had a huge grin on his face. "What?" she asked. Do I have something on my face? Not at all. I told you her pies were that good. He then dug in himself, finishing off 2 large slices and then getting up to grab a cup of coffee. He indicated the pot. Do you want a cup? Me drink coffee? Can you imagine the energy I'd have? No, thank you. Just a glass of water, please. She absently put her hair in a messy bun, something she did often when she ate, so she didn't find crumbs in it later, and asked, How long have you lived next to Aunt Jo? Oh, about 5 years now. I bought this place when I started the practice. I went over and introduced myself immediately. Of course, everyone in town knew of her, but she keeps to herself a lot. Imogen laughed. Yes, she certainly is happiest when she's alone, isn't she? It must be nice to be so content and comfortable with who you are. Gabe sat back down, putting her drink in front of her. I would say when you get to a certain age, it's easier to know yourself. But I think Josephine has probably always known who she is. Isn't that the truth? Even when I was little, she was always so confident and secure. It's a shame that I didn't see more of her growing up, but New Jersey wasn't her place. Is New Jersey your place? Gabe asked the question softly, not wanting her to feel it was too pointed. Yes and no. She laughed awkwardly and shrugged her shoulders. I love it there. There are so many wonderful things about where I grew up, beaches, farms, and cities. The food is amazing, and there's so much to do. I am comfortable there. She stopped, thinking, and Gabe waited. Well, as comfortable as I can be, I guess. I think that I love the energy and being so close to my family. Yet, I've never really felt like I was home. What does home feel like? Yeesh, ask the deep questions, why don't you? Imogen laughed awkwardly and then sighed, not wanting to answer. My dad says I'm a restless soul. I get bored easily, I guess. Do you travel? Oh, yes, I love to travel, and usually do that between jobs. Where is your favorite place in the world? Well, I haven't been able to afford anything outside of the U.S. yet, but I went on an Alaskan cruise a few years ago. I'm kind of an amateur photographer. I've never seen landscapes more beautiful. I really wanted to see a polar bear, though, but no luck. I bet you got some amazing photos, though. Imogen nodded emphatically. Yes, I'll show you sometime if you're interested. Definitely. I've never been able to take a good picture in my life, but I can appreciate them. I'm still trying to figure out my phone. My parents make fun of me, as everything comes out blurry. Imogen turned the question around on him. Have you traveled a lot? A shadow crossed his face so quickly she likely imagined it. Yes, I love to travel. I haven't been able to do it in the last few years with caring for the horses and the practice, but I've been lucky to see some amazing places. She prodded him on. And? Gabe simply looked at her straight-faced, pretending he didn't understand what she wanted him to say. The silence built until she finally cracked with a growl. Where is your favorite place? Right here. Now, don't scoff. I love to travel and see other places, cultures, and so forth. But every time I come home, I remember how much I love the mountains, the changing seasons, and especially the people. Like Bianca? Yes, like Bianca. But mostly my parents, my siblings, and my friends. Some people feel constrained growing up in a small town. I've been to cities, gone away to veterinary school. I am more myself here than anywhere else. That must be nice. Imogen meant it. Everyone she had met so far while in Vermont seemed perfectly content. She knew there had to be exceptions, but it was nice to see. At home, everyone was always rushing to get somewhere, to move on to the next thing. People tended to be less friendly, not because of high crime, but because they were always so focused on what they were doing next, they lost sight of where they currently were. Rush, rush, rush. The tide swept you away. Vermont seemed almost the opposite. A calm pond. It was easier to breathe. I thought I'd be bored up here. It's so different for me. But I've been keeping busy. Well, just wait until winter. There will be some days you have no choice but to stay close to home and sit by the fire. He got up, removing her plate and washing the dishes they used. What have you been doing to keep busy? She leaned back in her chair, picking up her water to take a small sip. Aunt Jo keeps me busy with taking care of the animals and helping her around the house. I can see why she's so fit for her age. I never seem to stop moving. Gabe laughed. I think that's more a personality trait than anything. But yes, farm work never really stops. So it seems. That's probably why I haven't gotten bored yet. I stopped by the general store today and met with Harper and her friend Bailey." She then added, "And I stopped by the barn to get a tour and see Fortune." He raised his eyebrows. "Fortune, huh? How did that come about?" "I just asked Laura if I could stop by and get a tour because I was interested in taking lessons." Gabe shot her a disbelieving look. "Hey, keep washing, Buster. I used to ride." "I believe you. I just don't think you were there because you were going to take riding lessons. I think you were there to check on Fortune, since you're positive he's being abused." "I don't think he's being abused necessarily. I just get the impression he's not happy." He sighed. "Animals don't have emotions like we do, Imogen. They have feelings, souls even. No one can say otherwise. But they don't process things like humans do." "Fine," she acquiesced. "Maybe he's not unhappy, but I don't think he's getting what he needs." "That may be true, but he's not your problem." Imogen was getting frustrated. "I know that. I can't explain it. I just feel like he's trying to say something and no one is listening." He walked back over to the table and took her hand. She resisted, but he held fast. "I know you have a good heart. Anyone that sees you with Cookie can attest to that. But don't get involved in something that doesn't concern you." She pulled back again, and he let her go. His point was made, he hoped. Imogen pushed back from the table and thanked him for the pie before slipping out the door. He was wrong. This whole situation was wrong. She felt like Fortune was asking for help, and she wouldn't ignore him.